without knowledge, and I have been a victim of this. Listening to Muslims who spoke to me without knowledge at the then time, who always drove me from Islam, because they were telling me superstitious things. They were telling me things that in 20th century, no human will believe them, far less Muslims who have the Quran, the only book preserved in the nature as it is for all this time. The only book which is the most read book in its original form. We have it today. Why are we deviant and why are we following these things? Because we've been doing that. We've been following and listening to people without knowledge and just saying things with our tongues about the deen of Islam. This is my advice, inshallah, and this is basically why I accept Islam. It's not a fancy story. It's just the haqq, the pure haqq, and all of the haqq, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair for Brother Abu Umar. Then inshallah ta'ala we'll hear from Brother Abdullah, who was a Jew before he became a Muslim. May I ask you before that, inshallah ta'ala, try to digest what the brothers are saying rather than laughing or making noises. Please try to even take notes about what's wrong with other religions that you may use for da'wah purposes. Brother Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah, wa ba'd. Inshallah, as the brother said, I'm from the Jewish faith. I wasn't prepared to give this talk, so you have to bear with me, and it's, inshallah, it'll probably be extremely short. But I was brought up in a Jewish household. My mother is Jewish, and all my family from my mother's side are Jewish. From my father's side, they are Christian, although non-practicing. Although I did not practice the Jewish religion strongly, I thought, yes, I'm a Jew. You know, I'm told I'm going to go to paradise. This is what the Jews believe. We are the chosen people of God.
Can you make it a bit louder?
As Jews, we believe we are the chosen people of God. You know, no other people are entitled to this. We believe all the messengers have been sent to the Jews. I used to laugh at my friends who were Christians. I thought, yes, we killed your God. I used to laugh at these people. Although I said I wasn't practicing, it was this pride that I used to have. From the age of about 14 or 15, I started to look into other things. I started to study a book called the Kabbalah, which is on Jewish mysticism. And from this, I started to read about paganism. A lot of the things in paganism are from the Kabbalah, in the book of the Jews. I used to look at the politics. I used to think, the Jews have been persecuted. We know the other countries, non-Jews, they owe the Jews. They are in debt to us. For example, what happened in Germany in the World War II, what happened in York about 300 years ago. People who were non-Jews, they were in debt to us. And again, the politics. My grandmother is a hardcore Jew. Suppose you could call her a Zionist. So my morals were preached to me by my grandmother. So I was brought up to hate the Muslims. Again, like Abu Umar. But I didn't understand why. I was just told it, and I said yes, okay. But when I left school, finished my A-levels, I started reading. I was into a kind of music called Gothic music, where the strange people where they all wear black, long hair, and this type of thing. And this got me into reading horror and science fiction. And there's one of the books I used to read. There are many quotes from the Quran. I didn't know what the Quran was. I thought, what we got taught in religious education. All Muslims are Pakistanis. They all know the Quran off by heart. And they all eat chapatis. This is what we were told in religious education. So this is honestly what I thought. I had Muslim friends. They didn't preach to me. I didn't think the difference. They used to come to drinking, etc. They used to listen to music, have girlfriend, etc. So I saw no difference in this. But I said once I went out to buy some records from a shop, and I saw this English translation of the Quran. And alhamdulillah, Allah guided me to buy this Quran with no instructions from my Muslim friends. I just bought it. I read this Quran in about 2 days, and alhamdulillah, this affected me. And from that I started reading more about Islam. I learned how to pray, learned the basics about Tawheed. And I used to, I compared the religions Judaism, Christianity and Islam. You know, and eventually, alhamdulillah, I took the Shahada in a very short time after reading the Quran. You know, very impulsive. So after taking the Shahada, I was living close to my mother at the time, but in a different house. You know, my mother she cut off the relations with me. And although she isn't practicing, and she even eats pork, so that's how unpracticing she is, she disowned me. You know, one of my brothers, I have two brothers older than me. One of them has declared himself as an atheist, and the other one calls himself a pagan. She accepts them. So I think, you know, because it is Islam, it installs, you know, the hatred comes out. And ever since taking my Shahada, you know, my grandmother, she started practicing her religion a lot more strongly. And, you know, it's in extremely bad things about Islam. So, you know, this is the attitude. And alhamdulillah, Allah guided me away from this. The things in the Quran that affected me, you know, there's a number of things, you know. For example, what Allah tells us about the Anbiya, the prophets, alayhi salam. You know, when you compare the stories, for example, in the Torah, we believe that God rested. A'udhu billah. We also believe that God apologized to the people for doing things for punishing the people. We believe that God wrestled with the prophets and lost. You know? But when I took Shahada, my mother, she disowned me. My stepfather, he said, I can't be Muslim. I asked him why. He said, because you're not Pakistani. You know, this is what my family believe. So, alhamdulillah, Allah guided me to the truth. When I first became Muslim, I had been Muslim for just over 2 years. I was extremely complacent on the deen. You know, so yeah, I'm Muslim. You know, alhamdulillah, I prayed 5 times a day. But that was about it. You know, I carried on listening to music, and I was working in an establishment serving alcohol. And I just carried on like this. Alhamdulillah. Some brothers approached me, gave me some literature. For example, the main one was Fundaments of Tawheed by Abu Amin ibn al-Phillips. Alhamdulillah, I read this, and it made me think, you know, if I am Muslim, then I should live up to this. You know, just because one is called Abdullah or Muhammad or Fatima, etc., this does not mean you're going to go to paradise. You know, this is the mistake that the Jews make and the Christians. You know, we have to earn paradise, you know, through our aqidah, through our belief, and through our actions from the Sunnah. And inshallah, it's a very short talk, but basically that's it. Jazakumullah khair.
And inshallah we'll ask Brother Abdul Rahim to give us his version, inshallah, and we'll ask him to speak a bit loudly.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, amma ba'd. I suppose that I wasn't, to say from the beginning, I wasn't merely brought up a Christian. I was actually educated for 10 years in a monastery. I used to belong to the largest denomination amongst the Christians, the Roman Catholics. The large majority of Christians ascribe themselves to the Roman Catholic, you know, version of Christianity. And I was brought up a Roman Catholic, and as I mentioned, I went to a monastery. A monastery is a place where men and also women, but in different, separate, separate places. The women have their place, and the men have their place, and they go and devote themselves, so they say, to the worship of God and the study of their religion. So obviously, going to this particular institution, my religious education in terms of Christianity was very intense. In fact, even until today, I think that my school is the only school that still studies religious history A-level, okay? Actually, it's OA level. And they used to tell us we are the last school in the country actually studying this subject. So I was quite, so as to speak, well versed in the Christian faith. But from a very, very young age, some things began to puzzle me.